Hey, no intro
Hey.
music, no nothing. We obviously things look a little bit different. So this is still going to be three and out, but it's not going to be with Jason and Kevin. It's going to be three and out with Jason and Alex. So I would like to, first of all, I do want to say Kevin had to step away. Everything's, he's just got stuff going on with their family and stuff like that and work. So he's doing fine. He's not dead or anything like that. That's a weird thing to say. But so taking over for Kevin, I want to introduce Alex Barrow, who not only is my sister's husband, my brother-in-law. He is a former collegiate athlete, played defensive end at Ohio State. So we're going to be talking about the Bengals from here on out. And why don't you just introduce yourself and what your just introduce yourself and what Ohio State was like, and just your perspective on football in general.
Okay. Well, I'm very happy to be on the pod. I was very nervous when Jason came, asked me in that tragic Kevin accident, but we're doing good now. Yeah, I played at Ohio State from 2004 to 2008. Always wanted to play there. Loved football growing up. I had the Eddie George poster and everything up on the wall. Didn't dream much bigger than that. Ohio State was where I wanted to be. And then that it's kind of at that time was becoming quite the pro factory. Late '90s, early 2000s. Jim Tressel was coach there 2002, 2001 when we started. And we had some great years, a lot of success, a lot of Big Ten championships. Appeared in two national championship teams. Name drop a little bit. Quarterback was Troy Smith. Ted Ginn was the best person I've seen. Really, really great times. Being in the mud with those guys, and it's really a Buckeye brotherhood. It was great. As I finished up, stayed in Columbus, met your sister, okay, and then I kissed her. All right. Then we move on down to yeah, but move on down to Cincinnati, and my mom is actually from Cincinnati, grew up area. So we always had an eye on the Bengals growing up. And it was tough to look at because it was the 90s.
Yeah.
And they didn't do very well. So it was a watch and chuckle situation as we enjoyed the Buckeyes on Saturdays and whatever the Browns were doing, throughout the years. So kind of my background, I always watch football with kind of a technical eye a little bit, especially paying attention to the front seven, where I focus most of the game, outside of all the fun stuff, with touchdowns and all that. So, see what the lines do, all that. So that's kind of my perspective, and I'm gonna approach it.
Awesome. I do want to. So you played with Cam Hayward at Ohio State, right?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Obviously, being a Bengals fan, and then all these Bengals fans, they want to hate Cam Hayward because Cam Hayward has been a thorn in every AFC North team's side except for the Steelers. Is Cam Hayward hateable, or is he just like an outstanding, awesome dude?
News. I got bad news. He's a great guy. he's a great guy. I remember I'm a couple of few years older, and big thing every fall camp was the conditioning test, and back then there wasn't a lot of transferring. We had a couple here and there, but not too much. And he shows up to camp, and I say, okay, we got a I'm a junior. We got another junior coming in. Wonder, he came from a MAC school. He's huge. He's killing the conditioning test. And then they say, no, that guy just turned 18. I was like, ooh, I'm going to go pro in something other than sports. But Cam is a great guy, obviously a great leader for that defense that's been given the Bengals for, but how many years has it been?
I don't know.
Well, I don't want to think about that because then I'll age myself.
Yeah, I know. There you go. Well, now we kind of got the introductions done. The last thing that Kevin and I talked about was at the end of week 2, Joe Burrow had been lost for the season. They were still 2-0. They had not been beaten by a combined score of 113 37 yet by the next 3 teams. So week 3, help me out. Week 3, they're all 3 slaughters. They kind of blended together. But week 3, where were they?
Was the
Denver?
ooh, that was
Minnesota.
Yeah, that was Minnesota. That was that
Minnesota.
game.
With Carson Wentz, and that was, what was the score of that one?
Ooh, I'm looking at 48-10.
Okay, 48-10. Then the next one, they go to Denver, and they get embarrassed there. I think they only scored 3. What was the score of that one?
That was 28-3.
28-3. And then they came home, played, and just got beat again terribly.
The Lions 37-24.
And then really the first time, I mean, they scored 3 points at the end of the first half. That's how they got on the board first. And then they scored 3 touchdowns in the second half. And then, I'm sorry, you said it was 37-24, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
37-24 sounds so much. It's not close. 37. Anytime in the NFL that you beat a team by more than 10, I feel like if you beat a team by especially 2 touchdowns, you dominated that team, and they were dominated. But 37-24, it was never really even that close. You know what I mean? It sounded so much closer than it was because the Bengals were outclassed every phase of the game. They have been in every phase of the game, and then you'd think maybe Zach Taylor gets fired. No, maybe Zach Taylor turns over coach or play calling duties. No, he said he's not going to do that today. And then you'd think, well, maybe if they really think they can stick into it, because think about just the state of the AFC North. Cleveland's awful; they're not going to win. Baltimore's without Lamar is no different than Cincinnati without Joe. You know what I mean? And then the Steelers are the best team right now, and I think they're 3-2, and they just look beatable. They're not world beaters, but with the state of the division, you'd think, hey, let's go get Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston, both of whom are rotting on the bench in New York. One is a former NFL MVP. One is maybe like the coolest, nicest, most awesome dude you could possibly find. And just bring him here. Even if Jameis Winston throws 500 interceptions, I just want to watch the press conferences. You know what I mean? And then they made a move, right? Made a move. Tell us what they did.
They got elite Joe Flacco.
Elite Joe Flacco. Super Bowl MVP champion from 1937, Joe Flacco. From Cleveland. They sent a 5th-round pick to Cleveland in exchange for Joe Flacco in a 6th. So, yes. And then they already said that they're going to start him. I kind of waffle back and forth. I don't know, man. I don't know if Jake Browning is bad and he just kind of pulled the wool over everyone's eyes in 2020. I mean, in 2023, I think he goes 4-3. You'd think there's a team that says, hey, we want him, but nobody does. Maybe that should tell us a lot. Maybe everybody knew, like, oh, that's a super team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a super team. They still had a pretty good defense. That's not really an accurate picture of who Jake Browning is. And maybe this is who Jake Browning is. He's an undrafted free agent. And he's led the worst offense in the NFL over the last 3 weeks. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. He's got 2 wide receivers, the best duo of wide receivers in the NFL, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And they're the highest paid duo of wide receivers in the NFL because of how much money Jamar Chase is making. And right now, it's like you took a Mercedes-Benz hood ornament and like duct taped it to a 2002 Aztec. You know what I mean? It's insane. So I think that out of the desperation of, hey, we really don't want to waste this year, you know, especially with how, and even like the Chiefs, think of everybody in the AFC outside of Buffalo. Everybody that would typically be in our way is down. You know what I mean? And so maybe they think, okay, this is a desperation move. The Joe Flacco thing, I can't. He's not better than Russell Wilson. He's not. I think he's more normal, probably, than Russell Wilson.
There's that.
Do you think he's better? Do you think he's better?
I don't think he's better at this point. I think what the thought is, and based on a little bit of what I've seen from Browns and Joe Flacco this year, and what we've seen from him in the past, I think the thought is maybe the skill set fits what situation that the offense is a little bit better.
Okay.
We see the issues with the offensive line.
Yeah.
So don't have an answer there. I don't think they have an answer there. So we that's kind of the cross your fingers and hope situation. But having Joe Flacco back there as opposed to Jake Browning, we've had situations where Joe Flacco's had more experience. He can make some decisions a little bit quicker. Potentially, he's a very big quarterback. So if he is going to take a hit, maybe the check down will go a little bit better. He's not going to be scrambling around, holding onto the ball for a long time. That'd be foolish for a 40-year-old to do. And he hasn't shown that he's done that too much as far as I've noticed. And he does have that extremely strong arm that we know about.
He does have a strong arm.
So based on how this offense is built with really a non-existent run game, it might be moonball season, as I've heard this term come up a few times. Hopefully not the hospital balls. Some of the other quarterbacks I've heard that thrown around a little bit, but two great receivers to throw those up to. If some of them are 50-50, talked about the Lions game, I was looking, T. Higgins had a touchdown towards the end. Jamar Chase had a couple of touchdowns. So a little bit of something to hang their head on as an offense. But, it seems like, we heard about that Joe Flacco drove down and with the team or on the phone with the coach or what have you and learned about the offense.
I know.
That doesn't sound great.
I want to say something. I want to say something about that. I saw it on Twitter. I was too tired to say it. Sorry. I was too tired to say anything or respond in any way. But I saw on Twitter that, they sent someone to drive him and his wife down. And my first thought was, why are you driving him? Like, send a freaking plane. They have to have some sort of, I refuse to believe that they don't have some sort of charter service. Even if they don't own a private plane, they could say, hey, we have like a service or whatever. We'll send you a plane. We'll buy you a first-class ticket. We're not going to send our intern to pick you up. We're not going to send our intern to pick you up and then drive you 4 hours home with your wife. Here's the playbook while you sit in the back seat. Please don't turn the light on. It makes it hard to drive. You know how insane that is? And to me, when I heard it, it's just, of course, anything to save a buck. It's weird. It's just a weird. And maybe I'm being like, did you feel the same way
I'm trying to give a generous interpretation of it, and I could see where, it's setting, you're going over the plays on a very detailed level, in that motor vehicle down 71. But, also less than an hour flight.
Lane? Can't you
read that? And then, the meeting room and maybe help them out with like some temporary housing, that kind of thing. We know that they may not be paying for that. So it's just based on, history, recent history, past history, long history. So, I agree. They're not going to, the Browns aren't going to beat the cheap allegations, but we need to hope that there was something gained from that. Did see that he practiced. Apparently, they said look good considering the circumstances, which is what a qualifier. But
he was good considering he drove here last night.
Yeah, considering his knees were literally sore.
Yeah,
that's a 4.5 hour deal. But
I know. And he's 40. He's 40. That's the other part of it. He is 40. I understand he's a professional athlete. I'm 42. He's much better. A 4-hour trip from Cleveland, I'm going to ask to stop at least once. And maybe he probably did. He's a professional athlete.
Is there a Buc-ee's in between? This is unbelievable.
I know. It's just
he's you're driving around your quarterback born in the 80s. It's a strange story, but I'm hoping that it's going to lead to something positive. And they at this point, from they going over like from a scheme standpoint, you know, like what do you got in the back of the playbook? I don't know.
right. Oh, I know. So before we go much further and look at the upcoming schedule, I do want to talk about the offense. Well, I want to talk about maybe what the game plan is with him. I don't know if they're going to ask him to run the same offense that Jake Browning was attempting to run, or that Joe Burrow. I can't imagine that they would. I could I could think that if they could get him under center, get the running game where it's just threatening, and you can open up some play action stuff where you could maybe that works out. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But the big issue with that is the offensive line, one, has not been good at run blocking or pass protection. And two, Chase Brown has been bad. Chase Brown has struggled to, get anything really going consistently. Um, and he's really the guy. It's Pirine after that, and then the rookie, which maybe we need to see more of him, and I just totally blanked on his name. But either way,
Yeah.
I don't. So if they can get a run game going, maybe that opens things up. But if they think that Joe Flacco can just stand in the pocket, that doesn't exist because it didn't exist for Browning, and just get hit the way Browning's getting hit. He can't run. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to get hurt. And that's the thing that surprised me so much is we want a 40-year-old quarterback who's like a big, tall guy. You know what I mean? Probably not as easy to stay as healthy as maybe a smaller guy. I don't know. But he's a big, tall guy. He's 40 years old. He drove here, and we might put him in front. We might put him in front of the worst pass blocking offensive line in the NFL. In the first game in Green Bay against Micah Parsons. Now, maybe Joe Flacco is kryptonite for Green Bay because he did beat Green Bay as a member of the Cleveland Browns. Maybe that's it. Maybe they signed Joe Flacco just for a week. We need Joe Flacco to beat Green Bay, and then we're going to cut him. Go back to Browning. But
that's just as plausible as anything else. Like,
well, that's probably true.
just
Yeah,
to get the rest of the team, a little confidence, and then let's get Jake back in there. We're left to speculate based on the decisions that they've made and how things have been going. You're talking about how hope the game goes. They have to start fast somehow. To the defense's credit, I'd say the front seven, and particularly Knight, number 44, been doing a really, really good job, and been flying around quite a bit. So they can, maybe a little unexpected couple of outs or something, keep it close, and we can get something going in the offense with the run game. That would make it so you feel a little bit better about it. If they get down quickly, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out quickly what the passing game situation.
Well, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Then I was just going to go on to say, my expectation is, new quarterback. You're going to go to what you consider your safety blanket to be. And
right.
Well, I guess he has 2 days to find out who that is for him on this team. But you imagine it'll be the tight ends, a lot of good pass rushing tight ends on this team, along with the wideouts, which are going to probably take a lot of the defense's attention. There's no run game, so yeah, with these are you kind of you're reaching and clawing for a positive scenario when you think about how it's going to
go. Maybe with a lack of a run game, they could turn just a short little timing dink and dunk short passing game into kind of a make the whole defense come down and respect that, and then you have your guys take off the top. I feel like maybe that's possible. Just short little timing routes, and then open things up from there if you can't run the ball. Again, they're going to Green Bay. Green Bay, I don't know. Anything can happen any week. it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world that, like, oh, the Bengals threw this Hail Mary and they brought in Joe Flacco and they went to Green Bay and they won. And then really in the end, you kind of forget about that win and it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I I don't know. The whole thing is just mind blowing to me. First of all, that they did anything. That's the other thing. And then that they did it with a division rival, and then that it's a 40-year-old Joe Flacco. That's the wildest thing of all, I think.
That they drove down.
And they drove him down. That's they drove him. Man, I wonder if it's just like if they had traded for like a. I can understand driving from Indianapolis. That's the only one. It's the only one. It's an hour and a half drive. It's 90 minutes. And I think it would take you longer on the tarmac to take off land and all. I think that's the only one I could excuse, is if they traded for Anthony Richardson and they drove him from in. People would still think that's weird, but doing it from 4 hours away is pretty nuts.
I need to know if this has happened before. I think that would make me feel differently about it. Like if Jerry Jones is like, hey, we need to. I got a guy coming to Arizona. We're gonna ride to Dallas. Like I need to know if this has happened before. If this is the first time that an owner has sent a car for a quarterback to start that week, I just want the information because this is is this the first time that's happened? I'm never gonna forget this. I'm gonna be very old and be like, remember that time they got a quarterback and drove him on down for Sunday?
I can imagine. I can't. And you said Jerry Jones. He'd send a helicopter before he drove somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I
mean? Yeah.
Right.
But what's the? Would they even do this? Like the Jets to the Giants? I guess that's plausible.
Maybe.
They were trading or something like that.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just so the whole idea. When they were talking, it was like, yeah, they drove him down and blah 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 blah. And I went, drove. And I just forgot. Like I
can't
just
hear anything else.
Yeah, I missed everything else. And I just kept thinking, like, is that weird? Is it weird? It's weird. It's weird. That's a weird thing to do. All right. So Joe Flacco takes over. We really don't know what the offense is going to look like. The hope, obviously, is that Joe Flacco turns the Bengals into a competitive offensive team, and they can stay in the hunt, relevant, and then that Joe Burrow is capable of coming back. I don't think if there was any sort of indication that that's not possible or that it's unlikely, I don't see them making this move. And that just means about impossible or unlikely that Joe Burrow could return this like calendar year or in the playoffs or whatever. The fact that they did this makes me think that they're under the assumption from medical personnel or maybe even Joe himself that like, hey, the surgery was well, everything's on track. Yeah, we're good to go. Because if they were told otherwise, like, oh, hey, he's probably not going to be coming back, then why do this? You know what I mean? Just go ahead, let Joe Flacco stay in Cleveland, and then just let Browning be terrible. And then maybe you have the number 1 overall pick. I don't think it's going to be Arch Manning anymore, but whoever it's going to be, you can trade out of that pick. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I the only thing that gives me hope is that there's some sort of thought or they've been told in some way, hey, we think he's going to be back. He can be back. He will be back. The question now is are we going to be capable of? You know what I mean? Do you get that? I mean, do you think that's the case? Right?
Yeah, I agree. I think with this move, just ultimately, well, it's two things. We can't see what we can't see, but it was really bad with Browning, I would say.
Yeah.
With the body language, I would say, of some of the receivers and some of the other players. Maybe it's just time for a switch up. And this was the cheapest option for sure, but the option with the most experience or has like the most, they know he can learn a playbook quickly. I'm not too sure why they wouldn't. Read they didn't even make a call to New York for some of those options that you mentioned earlier. So, maybe it would have been too much draft capital or what have you. But I think, I would say for this year, just I have to think the thought going forward is to hope that they can pull off enough games to make it worth Joe Burrow's while if he is good to return,
right?
Or really give them an answer maybe in the next handful of games on, what are we going to advise Joe to do? Shut it down for the year, or let's work to get back. We're still in it.
Right.
See how it goes here coming up. It's just a wild way to do it. And you just hope that there's a lot of thought and planning behind it. But we're considering who we're talking about and all the stuff and the Trey Hendrickson and the don't sign the first round pick and all the stuff I wasn't here for that I have opinions on. But considering all that, I think we're all just going to tune in and all be learning together.
Yeah.
Coaching staff, us, Joe Flacco.
Yep. Joe Flacco. Yeah.
If he does a touchdown, maybe we'll see a little, well, how about that?
I want
this guy's name.
I imagine like if he just gets teed off on, can you imagine the defensive players like when he's like really, you can hear his like bones cracking as he gets up, like this is not okay. We're like, get him out of here. I do want to ask you one other question that's kind of not related. Well, I mean it's Bengals related, but it's not related to the team as it is right now. Shamar Stewart was drafted number 17 overall, 4 sacks at Texas A&M. By all accounts, just a physical, absolute freak. Okay. As a defensive end, former defensive end, I just want to know your perspective on. We've barely seen any of him in the NFL. Just he played less than a game and he had a high ankle sprain, and I think he practiced today. I don't know if he's going to play this weekend, but what do you think? What do you think? I mean, do you think the production? I think that's my question. Do you think the production matters?
I think it does if you have like some sort of reason to back it up. Do we have analytics? If he was getting pressured and just not coming home at the end. There's nuance to it. It's not just how many sacks players give, or really how many pressures. There's context to all of it. So based on what I saw, based on what I know, obviously. No expert, but I do think he's really talented. Obviously, his athleticism pops immediately, and he's a rookie that didn't go through camp. Like you can put athletes out there, but there's a lot to it, and you don't want to have someone out there that's a liability on a defense where there's already going through a lot of issues and putting the offense in bad spots when we're already in a bad spot. But about him individually, I think there's a lot of potential there, just with that athletic potential. And I like that the Bengals are taking players that have a lot of athletic potential, based on their history and on what some of the other teams have done on guys that don't have a lot of college experience. If you're confident in your coaching staff and your player development and all that good stuff, you think the player has the potential to pop, or you have good leadership in the locker room. These are just general types of things. They have the potential to have a lot more success. But we don't know any of that with them. And it went off to such a bad start. My goodness, that was crazy. That was
this
ridiculous.
This whole season, from the end of last season until now, all the way, has been absolutely insane.
And living in Cincinnati, I must say that the amount of fans that when something ridiculous happens and they say, "Oh no, actually this is good," because it's not Browns fandom, but like you got to see like this isn't happening with other teams. It's like this not a thing that's ever happened,
right? I feel like it's an abusive relationship. Like no, they didn't mean to. They didn't mean to get Joe Flacco. Like they didn't mean to not sign any offensive linemen, or like they didn't mean to go to Big Lots to find a guard. You know what I mean? There's a reason Dalton Reisner was available at the 11th hour, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It also partially feels like a response to media, the fans saying Browning it's not going well. It's kind of it just feels like here, how about this? Take it.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. We're trying. Yeah. Can't you see we're trying? So yeah, I do. It's a rough situation. It's a rough situation. And
it is.
Between the draft picks, the drama, the Hendrickson drama, you're seeing players getting frustrated out there. You just really gotta hope it turns around. Yeah. At least be I don't know, competitive and get a little wacky on some teams. They're a big underdog here this weekend. So.
Yep, that the Joe Flacco signing affected the spread by half a point, 14.5 points to 14-point underdogs. So big difference.
Some improvement. Okay.
Yes, a half point improvement. Well, that's going to do it. Do you have I'm not going to ask you for a score because it could be 100-5. It could be fairly close, but scores in the NFL can look deceptive. You know what I mean? That's the thing about a touchdown counting for 6 points. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What do you think they're going to win?
No.
Okay. No, okay. Do you think it's going to be a respectable outing, or do you think they're going to just look like ass?
I don't think we're going to get another historic loss like that because I did see some fight in the defense. We saw some stuff. The Lions are a very good team, and they like to bury teams with Dan Campbell. So they weren't able to do that with the Bengals. So that is a positive sign. That means that the good players are there, the athletes are there. You are an NFL team. You have to fight, and you can compete with some of these more successful teams in the league. Any given Sunday, you never know what could happen, but I do think that they are going to be more competitive. I think maybe that's a slow start for both teams. And what ends up happening happens, but I think I'm hoping for something encouraging. Definitely on the defense, they have a great run game, and quarterback doing really well. So hopefully they look stout, and we'll see what happens on offense. It's just really the biggest question mark.
Yep. All right. I don't think they're going to lose, or I'm sorry, I don't think they're going to win. I hope
one take.
I do hope it's respectable. But we'll see. I think that Green Bay is they're good. I think they have a consistency issue where they just have, but Micah Parsons as a concept in general is terrifying to me. You know what I mean? He is. Both offensive tackles are playing bad. Center's playing bad. Both guards, one's a rookie. Both are rookies. Both guys starting right now as rookies. And guess what? They're playing like rookies, which sucks. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I would say if there's a situation where Flacco starts and then Browning comes out for any reason, it's bad.
Yeah,
it's an injury or a failure of that car ride. That 4-hour car ride, they did not go over what they needed to go over.
Right, yeah.
They get back in there.
Didn't you study the playbook on the way down? Like, they wouldn't let me turn on the light.
You got to have the lights off at night.
I know. Or the cops will pull you over. All right. Who Dey, number one. Alex, obviously, thank you very much for joining me. We'll be back next week for 3 and Out. By that time, we'll have, I don't want to put too much pressure on Alex, but we'll have intro music. And we'll have intro and everything like that. So, again, for Alex, thank you very much. We are also on, I should have done this at the beginning of the show. I got caught up introducing the new co-host. We are on YouTube on the Orange and Black Insider. It's us and it's OBI. And then on the Believe Network, it's us, it's OBI. It's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and Friends. And it is Matt and Willie No Ball. So subscribe, follow, all that stuff. And we'll catch you next week. Who Dey?
Who Dey?